Good morning, class. Good morning, class. Okay, we'll be having biology this morning, and what's the topic? What is the topic? Cell division. Now, this is not the first time we hear about cell division. So, like the word cell division, that means you will know a cell, and that cell will what? Divide. That cell will what? Divide. So, you people know cell now. What is cell? The functional what? Now, the cell has a structure called what? Nucleus. What's the nucleus? What's the function of the nucleus? The nucleus contains what? People have done genetics, right? It contains what? It contains the genetic what? Material. That's the chromosome, bah? In the chromosome, you will see what? Will you see DNA or gene? Huh? You see gene? No. You see what? You see what? DNA. A segment of it is now what we call what? A gene. A particular segment in that DNA is what we call what? Gene. Do you understand? Now, cell division is under the umbrella cell cycle. It's under the umbrella what? Cell cycle. So, it starts from a point, a cell starts, grows, and dies. Do you understand? So that is what? Cell cycle. Now, in the cell cycle, the dividing parts of that cycle is what we call what? Cell division. And it's known as what? It's called what? Mitosis. It's called what? Mitosis. Now, cell division, you can write cell division is also known as what? Mitosis. Cell division is also known as what? Mitosis. And it takes place in a regular body cell. What did I say? Mitosis takes place where? In a regular body cell. A regular body cell is called what? It's called autosome. Body cells are called what? Body cells are called autosomes. Are we following? Are we following? Body cells are called what? Autosomes. And how many autosomes do we have? So generally, have how many chromosomes? We have what? 46. And how many pairs? 23 pairs. But when we talk about the body cell, which are autosomes, we have how many autosomes? 22 pairs or what? 44. So we have what? 44 body cells called what? Autosomes. 44 body cells that is called what? Autosomes, right? Now, this remaining 2 is called what? It's called what? Sex chromosome. Do you understand? They are called what? Sex chromosome. So where do you see mitosis? That is a fundamental question. In what? Cell division in what? Somatic what? Cell. Cell body can be also called what? Somatic. Somatic cell. It can be called what? Somatic what? Cell. So the cell division you see in somatic cell, we call it what? Mitosis. Why that of sex cell, we call it what? Meiosis. We call it what? Meiosis. Do you understand? So that's the basic knowledge. So you know that mitosis occurs in what? Regular body what? Cells. And when they talk about cell, you should be seeing a chromosome inside what? Cell. Do you understand? You should be seeing a chromosome inside what? Cell. Are we following? I said, okay, let's go again. We are talking about what? Cell division. And cell division is under what? Cell what? Cycle. Now, by the dividing parts of that cell, when it starts dividing, we call it what? Cell what? Division. And we call it what? Mitosis. We call it what? Mitosis. Now, this mitosis takes place where? In regular body cell or somatic body what? Cells. Are we following? Now, that means there is a difference between a sex cell, that's a gamete, and a regular body what? Cell. Now, the cell you see in your stomach, in your hand, in your eyes are what? Somatic what? Cell. But the cell you see in the gametes, sperm and ovum are what? Sex what? Cell. Do you understand? That's the same way we have sex chromosome. You understand? And autosomes, which are the body what? Chromosome. Are we following? Are we following? Now, the chromosomes, we say that inside the cell we see what? Chromosome, right? And you know the normal diagram of a chromosome, ba? Something like this. Share? Now what do we call this? What do we call it? We call it what? Centromere. We call this what? Centromere. What is the function of the centromere? Centromere binds the sister chromatids what? Together. What did I say? Centromere binds the what? The sister chromatids together. Now, the sister chromatids, when they come, we call them chromosome. Look at sister chromatids. Now, this is like this. We call it a sister. Do you understand? And the other one is like this. We call it a what? A sister. So when they join, it's called what? Chromosome. And what binds them is what? Centromere. That is number one function of what? Centromere. What's another function of centromere? It attaches the chromosome to the to the what? Spindle. The microtubules. It what? It anchors the what? Chromosome to the what? Spindle. You know the spindle, right? We'll still talk about it. You know this diagram, this conventional diagram of cell division. You know the conventional diagram of a dividing cell? Have you seen something like this before? Yes. Have you seen something like this before? Yes. Have you seen something like this before? Yes. Now, this is the what? This is the spindle. Do you understand? This is what? Spindle. It is also called micro what? Tubule. It's also called what? Microtubule. And it's called what? Spindle. Now, do you know that chromosomes are attached? They are attached to this. Do you know? Yes. So, what helps them to anchor to this spindle is what? Is what? Is what? Centromere. Is what? So what are the two functions of centromere, class? It does what? 1 second. It's what? It attaches the what? The chromosome to the what? Spindle. Are we following? Are we following? So we have established the facts, the autosomes, the somatic cell. Now, have you heard about autosomal diseases? Autosomal diseases. Have you heard about Down syndrome? Yes. Yeah. Now, there are diseases that affect the autosomes, and there are diseases that affect the what? Sex what? Chromosomes. Do you understand? So, for instance, we hear about Turner syndrome. Have you heard about Turner syndrome? Yes. What is Turner syndrome? Do we know? We have heard about Klinefelter syndrome, right? Now, some diseases can affect the what? Sex chromosome, and they can still affect the what? Autosomes. You understand? So the autosomes, that means they're affecting the body what? Cell. And it can be, you know, in our textbook, you see something like this. That's pairs of what? Chromosome. And it will be 20 what? 23. They will now say that the last one is the what? Sex chromosome. So anything that happens to this part is happening to the what? Autosomes. And anything that happens to this part is happening to the what? Sex chromosome. Are we following? Now, let's look at, before cell division can occur, there's what we call interphase. There's what we call what? Interphase. There's what we call what? Interphase. What did I say? Interphase. So, why you see cell cycle? Whenever we hear cell cycle, we have what? Interphase and what? No, interphase and mitosis. What did I say? Interphase and mitosis. So don't make that mistake. Interphase is not a stage of mitosis. Not a what? It's just a stage of what? Mitosis. Do you understand? So interphase is on its own. So we have what? Interphase and what? Mitosis. So cell cycle, we have what? Interphase and what? Mitosis. So we have the interphase. Okay. Thank you. So we have the interphase and we have what? Mitosis. Are we following? So the interphase is a phase that comes before the cell will what? Divide. So write interphase. So we'll look at interphase first briefly before we now jump into what? Mitosis. Now, the interphase is the longest stage of a cell life. Is the what? The longest stage of a cell life. It is the longest stage of a cell life. It is the time spent between divisions. It is the time spent what? Between what? Divisions. Or you can even say between and what? Before what? Division. So they will first of all pass through the what? Interphase. And at a point, they can still enter the what? Interphase to take a resting what? Phase. But it's not rampant. So what we normally know that it happens before the what? Mitosis. Now, produces all material required for what? Growth. Before mitosis, mitosis is growth. What is growth? Increase. Do you understand? And why do cells divide? Cells divide because they what? One of the reasons that they want to what? Grow. They want to what? Increase. When you have one cell, when it divides, it forms what? Two daughter cell. Two what? Daughter cell, which we call what? When we have a cell, this is a mother cell, and it divides, you form what? Diploid what? You form what? You form diploid what? Cell. Which you see in what? You see in what? You see what? Mitosis. Do you understand? But haploid, you see it in what? Meiosis. Haploid is when you have 2N, you now see what? N and what? N. So this is the mother cell. And this is the what? Are we following? Are we following? So before a cell can divide, it needs to produce the materials required for what? Division. And as we can see, we see preparation for what? Division. So the interphase is a stage in which the cell prepare for what? For division. Are we following? Now in the interphase, we have the stages of interphase, or we call it parts of interphase. We have the what? We have the stages of interphase, or what? Part of what? Interphase. So we have, in the stages of interphase, we have what? G1 phase, S phase, and what? G2 phase. We have what? G1 phase. Okay. We have the parts of interphase. The part of what? Interphase. You have what? G1 phase. You have what? S phase, and we have what? G2 what? Phase. So what you need to know is what happens. Now, in the G1 phase of the cell of the part of what? Interphase. What happens is what? DNA what? Replication. What did I say? DNA. So DNA what? Replicates. So what happens in the G1 phase is what? DNA what? Replication. So what happened? Now let's move to the second phase, S phase. Okay, you are still writing? Yes, DNA replication. Are we following? So, okay, you are still writing? Now we said the parts of the interphase. You have the what? G1. Now the G1 is called what? The first gap phase. The G1 is called what? Let's start from the parts of interphase. Let's start from the what? Okay. Okay, let's go back to interphase. Go back to interphase. Go back to it. Share this stage bar. Okay, you can now copy. The interphase is the longest stage of cell life. Be fast while copying, be fast. It's the longest stage of what? Cell life. And I say that it produces all material required for what? Growth. And growth is what? Cell what? Division. So it produces all the materials required for cell what? Growth. It's a preparation phase. So it prepares the cell for what? Cell division. Are we through with this? Are we done with this? Now, this interphase, I now say that it has what? Parts, right? I say it has what? Parts, right? Now, what are the parts of the interphase? G1 phase, S phase, and what? G2 phase. Are you seeing how we are going? We first talk about what? Interphase and what? Mitosis, right? And we say that interphase is preparing us is preparing the cell to what? Divide. And there are parts of that what? Interphase, which is what? G1, GS, and what? G2. Now, are we good to go? Now let's go to G1 phase. And I say that this G1 phase, what happens is what? DNA what? Replication. What happens is what? DNA what? Replication. Are we following? Now, the G1 phase is called the first gap phase. In case of your exam, the G1 phase is called what? First gap. Gap. G is what? Gap. The first gap phase. It's called the what? It's called the what? And the thing that happens in the G1 phase is what? The most important thing that happens in this phase is what? DNA what? Replication. Are we following? Now, can we move to S phase? Now, the S phase is called the synthesis what? Phase. The synthesis what? Phase. The synthesis what? Synthesis what? Phase. Now, in this phase, DNA synthesis also. Now, they produce DNA. I just want to put, okay, let's look at this diagram. Let's look at this diagram. Okay, we will just because of a kind of the stage we are. Can we see the diagram? Can we see? Just wait for the projector to come up. Let's correct some facts. Can we see the diagram? Are we seeing the diagram? I want to explain something with the diagram. Have you seen the diagram with cell cycle, cell grows? Okay, okay, as we're waiting for it, now, we have a cycle. It's a kind of chart. It's a kind of what? Chart. It's a kind of what? Chart. Now, in this chart, we can see, are we seeing mitosis? M. M stands for what? M stands for what? M stands for what? Mitosis. Now, you now see cell cycle begins, right? You now see G1, S, and what? G2. Are we seeing it? Now, let's correct the fact. In G1, are you seeing this? I want to be sure that you are seeing it. Are you seeing the chart? You see now? Are you seeing this chart? Let's just use this chart and explain, okay? Now, in this chart, look at here now. Here is cell what? You see cell division. You see the cell begins to divide. You see G1. You see S, right? And you see what? G2. The thing is not pointing very well. See. Are we following? Now let's correct this. G1. The cells grows. The cell what? Grows. So in G1, the cell what? Grows. Now, before the cell divide, the cell needs to be what? Big. Do you understand? It's grow. It needs to be strong enough to what? Divide. So in G1, remember, interphase is a waiting what? Phase. Interphase is a what? A waiting phase. So in G1, cancel that replication. Replication happens mainly in S what? Phase. The main replication happens in what? S what? Phase. Now, in G1, In G1 phase, what did I say? The cell what? Grows. Does the cell what? Grows. There are many things that happen in G1, but let's just take it that the cell what? Grows. And when we talk about grows, what they say in textbook is increase in what? Size. Increase in what? You know, I told you that dividing is a way of what? Growing. Do you understand? But the kind of growth that happens in interphase at the G1 phase is an increase in what? It's an increase in what? Size. It's an increase in what? Size. Now, can you see the cell? Can you see the cell at the cell beginning of the cell? You see one small. Can you compare the size with this size? So this one is larger, bar? So that is the G1 what? Phase. So the cell what? Grows. Now, when this cell grows in the G1 phase, now it enters the what? S phase. What do I call the S phase? That's the G stands for gap in G1. The S stands for what? Synthesis. So it's called the what? Synthesis what? Phase. It's called the what? Synthesis what? Phase. And what happens here? Basically, what happens here is what? Here is now where the what? Here is where the what? DNA replication occurs. So DNA replicates at the what? S what? Phase. At the what? S phase. Are we following? Are we following? I know some of these things is new to you people. That's why I'm trying to break it down. Just pay attention, you understand. Are we following now? So, I said something about G1, right? And I mentioned the replication there before. And I said that it is not a G1. Is that what? Are we clear now? Is that what? S phase. Now, what happens in G1? The most important thing that happens in G1 is that the cell increases in what? Because it wants to produce DNA, but it needs to what? Increase in what? Size. The growth there is not division. The growth there is not what? It's not what? It's just normal increase in what? Size, and it will accumulate materials. Do you understand? Now, in the synthesis phase, which is what? S phase, what happens is what? What happens is what? DNA what? Replication. Now, after the DNA replication, what are we seeing again? The G2. The G2 is the cell prepares to what? Divide. So, in many textbooks, what they will tell you that in G2, the cell also increase in what? Size. It's just increase in what? Size. Do you understand? So, G1 increase in size. S is what? DNA what? Synthesis. Do you understand? Now, G2 is, it will also what? Increase in size. Preparing for what? Mitosis. Preparing for what? Preparing for what? So, it is simple. G1 is cell what? Growth. Increase in what? Size. We now have the what? S. S is what? DNA what? Replication. We still come back to G2. G2 is what? Cells still what? Increase in what? Size. Preparing for what? Preparing for what? Mitosis. Now the G2 is called what? Second what? Second what? So it is called the second gap phase. So these things are the parts of what? Interphase. So class, can we mention the parts of interphase again? G1, what again? And what? G1, S phase, and what? G2 phase. So what happens in G1? What happens in S phase? What happens in G2? The cell what? Increase, grows, and prepares to what? Divide. Now, going back to the diagram again, I want to point out something. Okay, there is a part we call the G0. The what? G0. Now, it is called the resting what? Phase. It is called the what? Resting phase. It is not an integral part of this interface, but it normally occurs in some cells. So, and you see it in your past question, they'll ask you, which part of cell division, they can use cell cycle interface, is regarded as the what? Resting what? Phase. So the resting phase is what? The resting phase is what? G0. Now, what is G0? After the G1, after what? Can we see the R? A place they said cell decide whether to what? Continue. Now, that place, you can put G what? 0. You can put what? G what? 0. So, if it enters what? G0, that means it will go and what? It will go and what? Rest. It will go and what? You understand? So, but if it passed the G0, that means the cell really wants to what? You understand? It really wants to continue the journey of what? Cell what? Division. So what I want you to know is that the resting phase is known as what? The resting phase is known as what? G0. So it is like a stage. If you pass it, you must what? Divide. But if you don't want to divide, you just go and rest in the what? G0. And once you go higher, you notice that there's some organisms, there's some bacteria that during their division, once they enter G1, they will decide to go and what? Rest. You understand? Those ones, when they are resting, they are very, very bad, because when they are resting, you will not see their cell what? Dividing. You think they are no more what? There. But at a point in time, they will decide to what? Continue the journey again. Are we following?